guys, welcome to my channel. It's CozyCrochetMonster, and today I have a really exciting project planned. So this project will be made using the granny square, and we're going to be making today a little granny square crochet basket. So this is a little basket made out of 5 squares. I have like little handles attached to it too, and as you can see, it's quite big. It stands up on its own and it's really cute. So for this project, you're going to need a 5mm hook and 2 colors of your choice. So I'm going to be using this yellow and this soft gray. And then lastly, you're going to need some scissors and a needle. We will be cutting off our ends and then sewing them in later. Okay, so to start out, I'm going to grab my yellow, and this is what I'm going to do for my center. So since we're making a granny square, we're going to be using the cinch circle method. So hold it, wrap your fingers around like that. Under the first loop, grab the second, and then twist. So you have this little loop on your hook, a little bit big. You take it off, tighten it up a little bit, and then chain 1 to secure it. So because it's a granny square, we're going to chain 3 because that's the height of double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet twice into the circle. So if you need a little refresher on how to make a granny square, I made a video a little while back. So this is our first shell, like that, chain 2, make another shell which consists of 3 double crochet. And then chain 2, another shell, chain 2, and one last shell. So I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit to make it squared. One more double crochet. Okay, and then you're going to just chain 2 and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, you can find it. It looks like a stitch on the top, and you're just going to slip stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook. And then you can just tighten that up. And that is your first round of the granny square. So now we're going to slip stitch across. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, do that once more, and then we're going to finally slip stitch into this next space. Now we're going to work our corner. So chain 3, double crochet twice, chain 2, and then make another shell, which is 3 double crochet. So I am going a little fast in this video just because I've shown you how to make a granny square. So I'm just going to show you my color change and how that's going to look like. But if you need to like practice or you need a review, I do have a granny square tutorial. So go ahead and watch that if you need to go a little bit slower. But once you understand the basic stitches, it's kind of very fluid and you keep moving. So make sure you chain 1 in between corners or other shells. So a shell, chain 2, shell in each corner. Chain 1, and then shell, chain 2, shell. Chain 1 in between, and then slip stitch into the top of your chain 3. So that is row 2. Okay, so I'm going to cut off my yarn. So you want to leave about 1.5 to 2 inches just so you can sew that in afterward. and then you're just going to yarn over and pull through. That's how you fasten off, like that, okay? So that is going to be the center of our granny square. So now I'm going to take my gray yarn, switching colors, going to make a slip knot, and then I'm going to just join into that same space. So insert my hook, yarn over, and pull through. So just a nice slip stitch. So you can try and work over your tail instead of sewing it in. I'm going to do that, but then go back and sew it in afterward as well. So once you slip stitch, you're going to chain 3 and then double crochet twice in the same stitch. So we just have our 1 shell. Chain 1, and then we're going to work a corner. So that's a shell, chain 2, shell. Chain 1, shell. Chain 1, corner. So once you kind of get into the rhythm of the stitch, it's pretty quick. I love granny squares because I can just keep making them. Just go, watch a YouTube video and just make a bunch of them, and then you can make something with it. So that's what we're going to do today. So in total, you're going to need 5 granny squares, and then each granny square is a 5-row granny. So this isn't a huge project, but it's a nice little beginner project, and you get to learn all of your different skills. So I'm just moving along, so chaining 1 in between each shell, and then in the corner chaining 2 between the shells. So just chain 1 in my corner, shell, chain 2, shell. Oops. Sometimes I move too fast and it comes off the hook. And then I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch to join. Oops. So right there I spliced my yarn. Don't want to do that. It's when you grab some of the fibers but not all of them. So I just fixed that. Okay. So you can go ahead and pull your corners. So this is where I stopped in my tutorial for the granny square, but we're going to keep going for 2 more rows of gray. So you can follow along. I'm going to show you, or if you kind of get the basic concept, you can just go ahead and finish those and skip further into the video. So I just slip stitch across, chain 3, and then make a shell. So the chain 3 always counts as 1 double crochet, okay? Like that. And I'm just going to keep going. Chain 1 in between, make a shell in the space. Chain 1, shell. Chain 1, corner. Chain 2, shell. So it's okay if you cannot go as fast as me. I've been doing this for a while and I like moving pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna grab some more yarn. Okay. So that's what it's looking like so far. So chain 1, shell, so 3 double crochet. Chain 1, 3 double crochet. Chain 1, corner. So by now, I hope that you have gotten the pattern into your head. If you haven't, you know, just rewind a little bit, go back to the granny square tutorial, just go through a little bit slower. But once you get the basic motions, you can just kind of keep going and you figure it out. But every space, you're gonna put a shell, you're gonna chain 1 in between them, and then corners, they're shell, chain 2, shell. Okay, so you're going to do 3 rows of gray. So you should have 2 rows of yellow and 3 rows of gray. So I have 1, 2 yellow, and this is my second gray. So I'll meet you back once I finish this row and 1 more. Okay, so I'm just finishing up my last shell. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then slip stitch into the top of your chain 3. Okay, just like that. Squish out the corners. Okay, so I have 1, 2 rows of yellow, and I have 1, 2, 3 rows of gray. So this is a 5-row granny square, and it is about 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So now we're going to take our scissors and cut off 1.5 inch tail. There we go. And we're going to fasten off. Okay, so once you have one of these done, you're going to want to make 4 more. So I have them just pre-made, so we can go ahead and start putting this together. So all together I have 5 of these granny squares. You can make them all the same, so it's uniform. You can make them different, you can make them multicolored, or you can make them all solid, variegated yarn, self-striping, whatever. This can be, you know, customized to your likings. So I'm just gonna look through these and figure out which one I want to be on the bottom. I think we're gonna go with this one. Doesn't really matter, but so this one's going to be the bottom while we build up our sides like that. Okay, so to do that, we're going to single crochet the edge. So this might be a little bit weird, might make total sense to you, but this is a cool new skill that you can use. So you could do it with the same color, or you can go ahead and use your I don't know, your center color, which I think I might do. Yes, I think I like that. Just so we get a bit more yellow into this project. So you're going to make a slip knot and put it on your hook, and then you're going to join, doesn't matter which side, because as long as you have your bottom, and then you're going to take another square, so it's going to be a side, but you're just going to lay them flat. So I want my single crochet to be prominent so you see it. You could also flip them inside out, single crochet them. When you flip them out, it's a nice seam, but I'm not doing that because I want it to be more stable. So if I do that, they're going to want to kind of collapse in. So I'm going to single crochet them wrong sides together. Okay, so first you're going to take your hook, and you're going to just insert your hook into both of the spaces in the very corner. Then you're just going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, just like that. So we're just single crocheting them. So then I'm going to insert my hook into this first double crochet in the shell, and then I'm going to look for the same stitch on the opposite side. So it should look like that, and then I'm just going to single crochet them together, just like that. So if you line them up quite nicely, you can kind of see where each stitch lines up, just like that. But if you can't really tell, just look for so this is gonna be the middle stitch. I'm gonna look for the back middle stitch. And then just yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we're just single crocheting them together, just like that. Then in the spaces, you're just going to insert your hook into the space and single crochet. So this one was a little tricky, so I just did one by one. So you can go nice and slow, make sure you're lining them up properly. just like that. So the space, I'm just going to insert my hook all the way through and single crochet. Just like that. So you're going to want to do this all the way across, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so I'm just finishing my last double crochet. So now I have the spaces. So I am going to work into those, but for right now, I'm just going to take that out. So this is how it's going to look. So it has like this little ridge on the bottom, which I think is kind of cute, and it's going to help make it stable. So if you did right sides together and single crocheted it like that, you would have that kind of on the outside, which is a nice clean look, and it does look kind of cute. You can have your accent color, or you can make it all one color, but I just like how this looks on the outside. Kind of gives it like a blocky feel. So now I'm just going to kind of open this one up a little bit, and then I'm going to do the same thing and just lay it on top of each other. So the little tricky part is going to be making these corners. You see, like that. So I'm going to single crochet once into this space, and that will be done with that side, okay? Because this other chain 2 will be part of this side. But so that's going to be done. And I'm going to take this and line it back up, and I'm going to single crochet in that space together, just like that. So it's going to be a little weird because you're going around like that. So it should kind of line up perfectly when you lay it like that, but it's going to look like this. So we'll go back and we'll sew up these seams later. For right now, we're just going to go all the way across the bottom. So then you're just going to repeat the same thing all the way across. So make sure you get both stitches and you're just single crocheting across, just like that. So you're going to do it for this side, and then you're going to do the same way we just joined this corner all the way across. And I'll show you when I get back to that final corner. So this is where I am right now. I'm about to sew on my last side. So make sure you're putting the wrong sides together so that at the end, all of them will be the nice pretty right sides. So that's the right side, that's the wrong side. So you might also be able to tell from all of your threads. Okay, so I'm just going to flip that. So I finished single crocheting in that last stitch, folded it open, and I'm going to just do the same thing over here. And then just single crocheting across. So after we finish the side, we'll have all of them kind of in a T. So we're going to sew in all of our ends first before we make it 3D, because it'll be a little difficult to do that. So we're just going to do it right after this. So we have our finished product once we finish just sewing it up together. Okay, so I'm just nearing the edge. So just going into every single double crochet in the very top, last one. And then I'm just going to simply single crochet once into that chain. And then I'm going to very sneakily fold this so I can see where I started. Just to make it continuous, I'm going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet we made. Just like that, okay? So you can cut your yarn and then we can start weaving it. I'm not, just so that when we come back, I can just sew that up and I don't have an extra thread to sew in. So I'm just gonna pull up my loop so it doesn't come out. Take out some yarn so it's just nice and loose. So this is what we look like on the back. Ooh, I love how that's looking. So the nice thing about the ridge is it's giving it a nice kind of sturdy base so that when we finish making our little basket box, it'll kind of keep it down. Okay, so now we have lots of threads to sew in. So this is one of my least favorite things, if I'm going to be honest, about the granny square, especially if you change color. There's a lot of tails to sew in, and I don't like doing it. It's my least favorite part of making things. But I'm just going to show you, maybe on this one, how I usually do it. So for the centerpiece, not a lot of people like sew it in because it's already in there, but what I like to do is just thread up my yarn, and then I like to just go around once more, like through the circles, so through the stitches, just to make sure it doesn't come undone, because I have had that happen to my granny squares in a blanket, and it was not fun to have to try and put back together because it was unraveling from the inside, quite literally. So just taking it around, oops, so inserting my needle, thread it through, just pulling it through. One last side, just so it's all nice and tight and it's not gonna go anywhere. Okay. Now I'm just going to make a little knot, so I'm just going to pick up on a piece of thread. I'm going to thread my hook. So I'm just going to act like I'm going to go all the way in. So this is a little sewing hack that I learned. And instead of pulling all the way through, I have this nice little loop, if you guys can see, right there. I'm going to back up with my needle back into it. So then I kind of just made a knot, and I'm going to pull it tight, just like that. So I have a nice little knot, so it's not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to sew that in once more. So you may not really care, especially if this isn't going to get washed or it's just going to sit on your desk or something, but I'm just going to try and make it look nice. Also, just to show you guys how I would usually do this. Then I can take my little scissors and snip that. There we go. Just put that aside. So that is the center. And then for these little things, ooh, I actually have this gray too. So you want to be careful when you have two colors not to sew in the end into the other color so it might see through. So I'm actually going to take this yellow and take it back down here where I can sew it in a better way. So I'm just going to kind of pick up some of these chains, like that, thread up my needle, just bring it down there, like that, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here, go underneath now. So the nice thing about the corners is that they're very long and you can get all your thread in there, so I like to use the corners a lot when I'm sewing in my ends. Which isn't always possible if it's like, you know, in the middle of your work and it's kind of far away. But when you can, those are the best spots to sew in your ends. Okay, so then I'm just going to pick up on a little stitch just so that if I go back through, it's not going to undo what I just did. And we're just going to go back in through there. So for sewing in ends that aren't in the center of the granny square, I don't usually knot them. I just go back 2 or 3 times because there's already a knot because you fastened off, so you don't really have to worry about that. Oops, I'm a little stuck. There we go. But for the center, there is no knot, it's just a loop that's holding it, so I just like to be a little careful with that. Make a knot. Okay, so I sewed that in. I'm gonna pull it a little tight. Get my scissors. Oops. Sometimes these scissors really suck. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of loosen that out so the tail gets hidden inside. Just like that. So you can go on with all your little pieces just like that. It's a lot of them, but you want to finish this now before you sew it in because once it's 3D and it's a box shape, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So it's a little tedious and time consuming, but it's going to make your projects look much more professional and you'll thank yourself later. The amount of times I've finished a project and thought I was entirely done with it and I went to show people and there's all these little ends hanging out everywhere. It just didn't look very nice. Okay, I'll see you guys in a little bit. You got this, just keep going and we'll finish our box. Okay guys, I'm back. I finished sewing in all of my ends like that. So it's all nice and clean. So it looks like on the bottom. So now we are ready to sew up the sides. So like I told you before, oops, I missed one, but that's okay. I didn't cut my yarn yet because I'm just gonna work up the side. So you're going to turn it like that. So it's gonna be a little weird working on it, but you'll get the hang of it. I'm just gonna push that on the inside. So then you're going to, so you worked into the last stitch was slip stitching into that first stitch. So then I'm just going to work back into the space once more, like that. And then I'm just gonna work into every double crochet across and into every space. Just single crochet all the way up. Okay, so I'm just reaching the end of my row. Going to finish by just working into it once so it keeps it even. And then I'm just going to simply cut off my string, 1.5 inches, and fasten off, just like that. Okay, so then you're just going to want to repeat it on all of the other sides. So that's one of the sides. You can just join your yarn with a slip knot. Here, I'll show you. Like that, and then just insert your hook here and start working with the single crochet, just like that. And then off you go. So just finish all of the sides and we'll come back and make little handles. Okay, so I just finished sewing up my bin and this is what it looks like. Super excited, it's so cute. There's the base. So it stands up pretty well on its own, which is really nice. So it has a good structure. But now we're gonna make little handles. So to do that, I'm gonna go back to my base color, or my main color, the gray. Set that aside, take it, we're going to make 2 little handles. So I'll show you how to do that. So you're gonna make a slip knot and chain 25. So once you have your 25 chain, we're going to chain 1 for a turning chain, and then just single crochet all the way across. So we're going back to the basics real quick. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way across. Okay, I'm just getting to the end of my row. And once I get there, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then just single crochet all the way back. So chain 1 and loop this real quick. Flatten that out. Okay, and then just single crochet all the way across. Okay, just finished my second row. That's what my strap looks like. And then I'm just going to fasten off, but I want to leave kind of a longer tail so I can sew it on. So about that long, 5-6 inches will do. Just fasten off. And there's one down. So I should have made a longer tail on this side so that I could have sewn it down better instead of having to cut more yarn to sew it down. But that's okay. So you want to make a second one, which I'll do real quick, but I'm going to leave more of a tail. So I finished crocheting my 2 straps and we're ready to sew them on. So you're going to need your bin, your straps, and your needle. So I'm going to take my first strap, I'm gonna lay it on this side. So I'm just gonna kind of smash it down so you guys can see it better. So I'm gonna thread up my yarn and I'm just going to, let's see, do I want it like that? How's it going to fold over? Kind of like being folded over like that, just to see how its natural curve is. But once again, it doesn't really matter. Sorry. So I'm just going to attach it to the top row of my last shell, or my corner. So I'm just going to take my strap and place it on top of it, I'm just going to do a little back to the front motion. And we're just going to sew it across. And so I'm using all 3 stitches on that double crochet like that. I've got it. So I'm just going to go back once more just to secure it a little bit more. Oops. Okay, just like that. So it's secure enough, it's not going anywhere. Then I'm just going to make a little knot on the side. Like that, and pull my needle through. Pull it tight, and then I can just sew that in later. And then I'm going to do the same thing. So you want to make sure you don't twist your handle. So I'm going to thread up my yarn. Oops. Like that. Then I'm going to just do the same thing that I did on the first side. Okay, and then just tie off again. Okay, just like that. So now we have our little handle. It's gonna lay nice and flat on the side like that. And I can easily just hold it like that. I'm gonna fold it over a little bit just so it kind of stays, because that seam, just like that. Okay, so you're gonna do that to the same, you're gonna do that on the side, across from it, just like that. And there's my little basket. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!